Okay, we're recording.
Welcome to the Just Getting Through Life podcast by Kim.
And Jonathan.
Jonathan's mic just sucked ass the first time around.
No, it didn't.
Yes.
I just
Okay,
didn't
I'm
have it.
gonna share. Can I share the screen with us? Show all windows. Let me see. Share the screen. Oh, yeah, we're here.
Oh, this is cool.
Is this good?
Yeah, I can see it.
I wonder if I can make it like fatter. It's only you now.
You can zoom. You mean on the browser? Just hold down control and scroll up.
Oh no, this is fine.
Oh, okay.
Should I make it fatter?
No, you're good.
I already know how to zoom. Hello.
I'm just
That's
saying.
for newbies not to know.
Hey,
Okay,
not
so
everyone knows.
this podcast is we're going to be discussing positivepsychologyprogram.com, this article called Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Techniques.
Yeah.
And I think I chose this because we both of us have therapists.
Yeah.
And they tell us how to think and what to think about. So I just want to go over this article and see how that applies to our lives.
Yes.
We are told to, we're programmed to think a certain way and to act a certain way. And it takes, simple techniques to help us out in life.
Break out of those habits.
Anyways, let's see what this is about, really. What's CBT? The simple idea that our unique patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving are significant factors in our experiences, both good and bad. Since these patterns have such a significant impact on our experiences, it follows that altering these patterns can change our experiences. That makes sense. The founder of CBT is Aaron Beck. All right, blah, 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 blah. Cognitive distortions. Many of the most popular and effective CBT techniques are applied to what psychologists call cognitive distortions, are inaccurate thoughts that reinforce negative thought patterns or emotions. Do you have cognitive distortions?
I definitely have issues in my head. Well, since I met Kim, I decided that I'd go to therapy, so I just started.
Since you met me.
Yeah.
That's a way to frame it. Since I met Kim, I decided I need therapy.
Not because of her, because of me. I have issues a lot. But yeah, I just started. It was a suggestion by her. And I recently got some suggestions to deal with issues that I have. But let's go through the article and then we can all see if any of that aligns with what I was told.
All right, filtering. Filtering refers to the way many of us can somehow ignore all the positive and good things in our day to focus solely on the negative. It can be far too easy to dwell on a single negative aspect, even when surrounded by an abundance of good things.
I've definitely felt this in my life. It's happened to me before. It hasn't happened to me in a while, but
I think this happens to me pretty frequently, more frequently than normal. I think it's because for me, my therapist said that when I get close, I'm more comfortable with distance. So when I get close, I have a bunch of negative thoughts. And she said to counteract the negative thoughts with positive thoughts at the same time. And you know what I noticed? I noticed that I kind of after a weekend together when it's good, that Monday or the day that I don't see you, or when I'm back by myself, or when I'm doing my own thing, that's when all the negative thoughts flood in and I'm like, fucking shit. I get so mad at you. I get so resentful and so mad. Like I'm like blah 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 in my head, and I'm just thinking all these negative thoughts. And then I think usually what ends up happening is I just take it out on you, and I just talk to you. I'm like, I don't like this, and I don't like that, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. And then you're like, but I thought we had a good weekend. And I'm like, you were wrong.
Yeah. No, we definitely are working on that together. It
Why is that laugh so nervous?
is a nervous laugh.
I had a real, you know what is different this time? All my negative thoughts I write. Oh, I have to take out the laundry. Well, I'll take out the laundry in a little bit.
All right. That was Alexa. Friendly Alexa.
Friendly old Alexa, good old Alexa. Yeah, but this time what I'm doing is I write all my negative thoughts and I send it to my therapist instead. So I end up like not really hounding you with it. And yeah, I think that's why I don't hound you with it with my negative filtering.
Mhm.
But yeah, polarized thinking, black and white thinking. This cognitive distortion is all about seeing black and white only with no shades of gray. This is all or nothing thinking with no room for complexity or nuance. If you don't perform perfectly in some area, then you may see yourself as a total failure instead of simply unskilled in one area.
I don't think I've experienced this before. I've not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think I do this either. Okay, you should read the next one. Overgeneralization.
Overgeneralization is taking a single incident or a point of time and using it as a sole piece of evidence for the broad general conclusion. For example, a person may be on the lookout for a job but had a bad interview experience. But instead of brushing it off as one bad interview and trying again, they include that they're terrible at interviewing and will never ever get a job.
You got really, really loud.
Oh,
Like
sorry.
voice wise. I think we should keep it like the same distance from our mic the whole time. Or I don't know.
I have a headset. I didn't move anything.
Oh,
Maybe I was just talking louder.
yeah, you were talking louder.
I'll try to talk more monotoned and boring.
Not boring, just like don't yell into the mic.
Maybe I just get excited when I read and yell.
Then move your mic further away.
Yes. I think I've been through this overgeneralization before. Because I actually went through the same exact example. There was a time where I didn't have a job for 6 months and it was very stressful. And I would end up giving up for a while. And yeah, eventually I got out of it, but it was a few months of stress and anxiety. But yeah, this has happened to me.
Overgeneralization. I don't think I give into this as much. I don't. I think because failure to me is such a common thing since I fail all the time. Or I feel like I take failure and I take blame kind of very nonchalantly.
Hmm.
So I don't think I take one incident, well, at least for like job interview stuff, but I do overgeneralize for like relationship stuff. Like it's hard for me to, if an incident damages my trust, it's hard for me to go back on it again, and then I think about the incident. Um, so I overgeneralize with like, I think relationship stuff, but not so much job stuff. Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Jumping to conclusions. Similar to overgeneralization, this distortion involves faulty reasoning in how we make conclusions. Instead of overgeneralizing one incident, however, we jump to conclusions, refers to tendencies to be sure of something without any evidence at all. We may be convinced that someone dislikes us and with only the flimsiest of proof, or we may, oh, I was reading off that.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, okay. She switched screens. I'm going to go to my other screen. Just a second. Okay, where was I? We may be convinced that someone dislikes us with only the flimsiest of proof, or we may be convinced that our fears will become true before we have a chance to find out. So, I definitely have issues with this. I I've been talking to my therapist about it, and they basically said I have a thing where I get stuck in a mind trap and I jump to conclusions in my head, and they end up stressing me out, and I just overthink things. I just make up ideas or situations that aren't real, and yeah, that's something that I know I have issues with, and I'm just gonna have to work on. So far, it basically told me, whenever you have these ideas, write it down, get it on paper, so then the idea is no longer in your head, and then think of reasons why you'd be thinking about this, and it'll be easier for you to process when it's on paper.
Okay, are you going to do that?
Yes, I'm going to do it. It's my homework for this week.
Oh, you have homework.
I got homework.
Emotional homework. Let's see.
The best kind.
That's all the type of homework we need, huh?
uh,
Similar to okay, jumping to conclusions. I didn't really listen to you when you read it. We may be convinced that someone dislikes us with only the flimsiest of proof. Oh, I think I do that too sometimes, but I'm confrontational, so I'll figure it out fast. Like if
you
I
are.
feel like I jump to conclusions, I'll just talk to the person I'm jumping to conclusions with, and I'm like, "Is this true?" And they'll either say yes, Kim, or no, Kim. But either way,
You're very straightforward.
I think I try to figure it out
It's
quickly.
scary.
Well, I don't. I think it's a waste of a life to just dwell on something versus getting the real answer because you never know. You can't read minds, is what my thinking is. Like, you can't read minds. So, how are you going to conclude on something if it involves two
Yeah.
people? You
Yeah.
know?
I had a friend today that I was talking to, and she was, sorry, you're making a dance. It distracted me.
Oh,
Um,
go ahead.
Basically, yeah, she was having issues. She didn't know what was wrong with someone else, and I told her, just talk to that person. Don't guess. Talk to that person. And she ended up doing that, and it was resolved within 30 minutes rather than her sitting there being depressed and, guessing, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? I was like, just talk to someone. It's funny how, like, sometimes you just need that little obvious push to, like, get a conflict resolved. And that's what I did. It was cool.
So, you gave her advice that you don't take yourself.
Yay! Yeah, it's easy to give advice and not take it.
That's the way to live life.
No, I know it's something I have to work on, but I'm taking the steps to do it, just like you are.
All right. Catastrophizing, magnifying, or minimizing. This distortion involves expectations that the worst will happen or has happened based on a slight incident that is nowhere near the tragedy that is made out to be. For example, you may make a small mistake at work and be convinced that it will ruin the project you're working on. Your boss will be furious and you will lose your job. Alternatively, we may minimize the importance of positive things such as accomplishment at work or a desirable personal characteristic.
Mm, definitely don't have this issue at work. If I make a mistake, I just figure out how to fix it rather than dwell on it. or think
Hey,
I'm
you
gonna
know
get fired.
what?
Huh.
I feel like if you apply how you approach work to how you approach personal life, I think you would be a lot less stressed out because you say that if you make a mistake at work, you just like figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And then I feel like if you, I don't know, for relationship stuff, like if you make mistakes, do you dwell?
Well, remember with this relationship, you have your thing too, or if I make mistakes, you lose trust. So the mistakes are a
That
lot.
has nothing to do with you dwelling.
No, it has nothing to do with me with dwelling, but
So why are you deflecting the question? Do you dwell?
um,
What? I'm
I
asking
think
you
so.
one question.
I'm thinking about it. All right. Um, I don't think I dwell. I used to dwell. I haven't dwelled with you because you pretty much, I think we most of the time just talk about it for like an hour or so and we get through it real quick. But there was past relationships where I did dwell because I was always worried one mistake would be the end all of all mistakes.
That's a hard way to feel.
Yep, I felt like that all the time.
That's horrible. Okay, personalization. This is a distortion where an individual believes that everything they do has an impact or external events or other people, no matter how irrational. Oh, I didn't even share my own thing.
Nope, you didn't. You
Okay.
skipped it.
So I think that I do this for like work related stuff for sure because one time I had to, the people who own my building wanted me to move to another, like kind of like go from two warehouse to one warehouse. Well, I kind of wanted it at first, and then they kind of forced me too soon. And in my head, there was all these like scenarios about how, oh my God, it's going to take forever. It's going to take so much money, thousands of dollars for me to do everything. It's going to take a lot longer. And then it ended up not taking that long.
Nope.
And I just finished it, but it stressed me out so much. Like I was so stressed.
You had the guns to help you too.
Oh yeah. Jonathan helped me a lot. Move random stuff.
How was the labor?
All
The
right.
free labor.
You're not free. You cost time and money. Okay.
What?
Personalization. What are you talking about? How can you be free? You're not free.
Okay.
Personalization. This is a distortion where an individual believes that everything they do has an impact on external events or other people, no matter how irrational the link between the person suffering from this distortion will feel that they have an unreasonably important role in the bad things that happen around them. For instance, a person may believe that the meeting they were a few minutes late in getting to was derailed because of them, and that everything would have been fine if they were on time. Hmm.
I think I've felt this in the past. Not recently, not for a while. I don't really care if I make if that type of thing happens to me.
Wait, what do you mean? Explain that. You don't
Um,
really care if that type of thing happened to you. This is about you believing
yeah,
that
you're the
you're super
you're
important. It's like
yeah,
you're
no.
the center of
Yeah,
things.
I don't think I'm the center of things. That sort of thing doesn't mean anything to me. I just if I like for that example, if I showed up a few minutes late, I wouldn't care. I just sit there and do my business without a worry in the world.
Oh wow. I think how you approach work is like pretty carefree. And I feel like that's how you should approach relationships too. Because the way you describe like
Well,
things is like work related, it doesn't affect you.
it doesn't affect me, but it's because I care more about my relationship, I guess, in a different way. So,
That doesn't explain anything to me.
well, I'm basically saying I care about you more. So I guess I overthink things because I want things to work out.
And if you mess up at work, you just don't give a fuck?
Well, it's not that I don't give a fuck. I'm like, oh, I messed up, but then I'll fix it. You know, sometimes I'm worried because in the past, like I told you, if I messed up, it would be every time I messed up, it was like the relationship was on the line. So I've been trained to
So
like
how have you stopped yourself from feeling that way?
tell by talking to myself and telling myself that it's okay,
Mm.
that you can make mistakes because you're only human, you're going to make mistakes. And if that person wants to leave you because of a simple mistake, then um, that's their loss, I guess. Because I mean, I feel like I make mistakes, but I have a lot to offer in my like own way.
Cool. Let me see. Have I addressed this? Anything they do has an impact on external events or other people, no matter how irrational the link between. Nah, I don't think I do this as much because I feel like if some. I don't know if I feel like I have an unreasonably important role in people's lives. I know that I help pay people's bills, which makes me feel responsible for them somewhat. But then I don't feel like I'm super important. Okay. Control fallacies. Do you want to read that one, Jonathan?
Sure. Another distortion involves feeling that everything that happens to you is a result of external forces or due to your own actions. Sometimes what happens to us is due to forces we can't control, and sometimes what happens to us is due to our actions. But the false thinking is assuming that there's always one way or the other, and we don't always assume the quality of our work is due to the work to working with difficult people, or alternatively that every mistake someone else makes is due to something we did. Huh. So I got to read that again.
It's kind of like thinking that when bad things happen, that's your fault, uh, versus like stuff you can't control.
Mm-hmm. So, so is it stuff you can't control and you just blame yourself? Is that kind of what it means?
No. Well, okay. So, this line. Sometimes what happens to us is due to forces we can't control, and sometimes what happens is due to our own actions. But the false thinking is in assuming that it's one way or the other. So the distortion is saying either it's something I can't control or it's my fault. So that's the fallacy is we can't think that it's one way or the other. It could be that it's the quality of our work is due to working with difficult people, which you know is somewhere in between, like
Okay.
you know or that every mistake someone else makes is due to something we did is like an extreme version. So
So it's like kind of like meeting in the middle, sort of.
yeah, don't think
Right.
that either something's out of your control completely or that it's all your fault. So basically one is all your fault, the other one's like it's everyone else's fault and not yours.
I don't think I'm like that.
Okay.
What do you think? I don't think I've ever shown anything like that.
I think when I first started dating you, I think you blamed everyone else around you but yourself. So I think you had that. You're like, you, it was kind of like you kept telling me how so much of a victim you are
Mhm.
and so much how out of control it was. Like, your life led to this because of this. You're,
Mhm.
like, you got kicked out, therefore you became this. And like, it felt like everything was everyone else's fault and not your own. So it made me feel like you don't really take responsibility for your just emotional result of who you are.
Mhm.
And you still kind of do that. You're like, well, my, so and so is like this. Therefore, I'm like this. My ex is like this. Therefore, I'm like this. Like, you, you're like, I'm used to this. Therefore, this is why I behave this way. But that's like saying the way you are is because how everyone else acted in a negative way towards you,
Mhm.
versus you deciding to stay in a situation, or like somewhere in the middle.
Mm.
That's my own opinion. Fallacy of fairness. We are often concerned about fairness, but this concern can be taken to extremes. As we know, life is not always fair. The person who goes through life looking for fairness in all their experiences will end up resentful and unhappy. Sometimes things will go our way and sometimes they will not, regardless of how fair it may seem. If things are okay, if life is fair or not. The fallacy of fairness. Fair or not fair? I don't know about things being fair or not fair. I feel like things just are. You're lucky or you're not.
Mhm.
Like, I don't get angry that life's not fair. I don't think life is fair. I think it is a lot of it genetics, a lot of it how you grew up, and a lot of it luck. So it's a combination of circumstance rather than things owed to you. Like, you're not owed anything, just because you were born.
Mhm.
You really owed shit.
Mhm.
That's how I feel about like things being fair or not. Do you feel like when something happens, you're like, oh, that's fair, or hey, that's not fair?
I don't know. I think fairness is back and forth. I mean, you're kind of just given what you're given, pretty much. I think life just comes at you. You
I
can't.
think, okay, go ahead.
No, that's it.
I think people who trip out over fairness are people who believe or who are super hopeful. Like, they're always thinking that things will go well. Like, they always think that it will flow just fine and everything will be good and 100%. And then when it's not, they're like, oh, that's not fair. Like,
Yeah, but you can't think that way.
yeah.
You got to be ready for stuff to go wrong.
Yeah. Rugged maniac.
Yep, that's my shirt. Your shirt's just a shirt, tank top.
Purple. Do you want to read the next one?
Blaming. When things don't go our way, there are many ways we can explain or assign responsibility for the outcome. One method is to assign responsibility is blaming others for what goes wrong. Sometimes we may blame others for making us feel a certain way or making us feel or act a certain way. But this cognitive distortion this is a cognitive distortion because we are the only ones responsible for the way we act or act. You basically already said I do this, so
I
So
know. I don't want to say anything extra because I'm like, we already went through this.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it again either way.
But you still do this. This is what you still do.
Whatever. Whatever.
What? You don't believe it? You just said your ex,
I
you were
do
used
believe
to
it.
a certain way, and then
I was used to a certain way,
so
and
you believe that
I'm
you're
not.
not responsible.
I'm not saying I'm not responsible. I let myself be in that relationship, but I believe the way I believe that we go through life growing up in a certain way and dealing with certain kind of things, and that kind of molds us into the person we are. I'm not saying that, and yes, people you meet have an impact on the type of person you are. Like just like you said, when you hang out with a certain group of people, you do certain certain things. You kind of like
But
mold.
I don't. But I won't
Yeah,
blame them. I get mad at myself for staying, and I
yeah.
think the fact what they're saying is, and you can
So,
believe it or
so,
not, they're saying that you are the only one responsible for the way we feel or act. It's,
so,
it's different when people affect us. It's
but
your responsibility.
okay. I got an example.
Okay.
So when you were mad after I got mad on the computer, you took that anger to work and you blamed me for it.
No, I blamed myself for staying with it.
So you blamed yourself, but you
I didn't blame you. I blame
okay.
myself for being affected by it.
Okay. So okay.
I didn't say it was your fault either.
Mm,
Or you're saying that I did say, hey, it's your fault.
mhm. You did. Mm, and it's all about your how you come off when you say things.
That's nothing to do with the blaming thing.
But you did.
Now you're going off on some other tangent,
No,
some
I know.
lecturing tangent. It's about how you say it, Kim. No, that's not what we're talking about. You're just
Okay,
totally going
but
off on something
but
else completely different.
okay. All right. Yeah, that's true. I did go off on a tangent, but I think it's easy to blame someone.
Of course it is. That's why we shouldn't do it.
I know. I'm trying to get better at it to
Do
not.
you feel like you're responsible for your own actions, or do you feel
Yeah.
like other people are responsible for you?
No one's responsible for me. I'm responsible for my own actions. But I'm saying we get molded about, with the people we grew up with and the people we're around. I'm not saying I blame them. I'm saying that we get molded. You don't have to agree with me. That's just my opinion. I feel like people you spend time around mold you. Like if you hang out with a bad crowd, you're most likely not going to do great things.
I think I think it's a fine line
Mhm.
when you're talking about this because on the one hand you could phrase it one way and on the other hand you could phrase it another way that shows that you're responsible. Like I don't really know inside how you feel about it because
Yeah.
I could say this is the right way to say it and this is the wrong way to say it and you could say
Mhm.
it however you like to say it, but like internally how you feel makes
Mhm.
all the difference. And one way of saying it where our environment is like if I hear, oh, my friend ripped me off, therefore like I'm never trusting my friend again, versus I got ripped off one time by a friend and like it made me less trusting of people in general, like.
Mhm.
And so next time I just feel like I'll be more cautious.
Mhm.
Then it's kind of like saying the situation made you feel a certain way versus like a person. If you're
Mhm.
like my ex, my ex did this to me,
Mhm.
or my ex made me like so and so.
Hmm.
and you're blaming your ex, but you could say, I am more this way uh, because I let myself get subjected to this for 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Like then it's just different ways of phrasing it.
Yeah, that's wording it. That's words. Wording it
Yeah,
a
it's
different way.
different way of wording it, but really like when it comes down to it, are you like fuck that person? Or are you like, oh, it's okay. They are who they are.
I'm not, I've never said fuck that person about anyone in my past. I don't hate anyone.
Hmm.
So I know in the end, how I am is because of me, because I've let, things happen to me. But I still think that people mold you, and the people that you grow up around and experience things with mold you. I'm not saying I'm blaming them for molding. I'm just saying that people around you mold you. That is all. And I don't think it's blame.
You're saying that you get influenced by the people around you.
Hmm. And the part that's my choice is whether I leave or not.
Yeah, you stay or you
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah, that's my choice. But I'm just saying
So
like me.
if it was you, would you stay in something that molds you in a wrong way or how
you
you feel
you
is wrong?
you already know the answer.
No, I'm
I've
saying for
I've
the
stayed
future.
in
I'm
I've
not
stayed
saying
in
for the past.
in the
And if you
future.
do, and if you did stay for the past, you stayed in it for a long time. Do
I
you
did.
hate yourself? Do you hate
Yeah.
yourself for it, or do you resent the other person,
I
or do
don't
you do
resent
both?
I don't resent the other person. I At first I was unhappy. I was mad, like, about the whole thing, but no, it was my choice. I chose to stick around. But I think if I didn't go through that at all, I would be different. Like if I wasn't cheated on when I was younger with the first person I cared about deeply, I would be different than I am today. I feel like that one, it's not either, I don't think it's her fault. I mean, she did it, yeah.
Wait, why would you be different? Why would you be different?
What do you mean? I would trust people easier.
But you tell me that when you're with someone, you trust them.
Yeah, I
So
try my
why
best.
would you be different? You're not like a distrusting person to me.
I feel like I can be.
So so you say that overall you don't trust me, and if you
No,
feel like you like the love of your life back then didn't cheat on you, you would trust me?
no, I said trust would come easier. It's not even about only relationships, it's just trust in general. I've been, um, I told you I got screwed over by a best friend, which was best friends in childhood. So I've had a lot of examples in my life where trust was majorly taken advantage of. And yeah.
Well, what about now? Like, do you have a best friend? Do you not have friends because you just don't trust? Do you trust your
Um,
best friend?
I have friends. Not a lot, but I do have some good friends.
You
But
know
I
what's
think,
funny? I feel out of both of us that you trust a lot, that you're very, very trusting,
yeah.
almost naively, even. I feel like you tell me that you got scarred from your past and or your ex cheated on you and it made you trust people less. I feel like you trust people, you put your heart on your sleeve and you trust people more.
Well,
I don't see you being cautious. I see you just trust a lot.
yeah, that's I don't know. I don't feel
And
like I don't internally I don't feel like I trust fully all the time because there's always doubts in my head.
so you say the words I trust you but you don't believe it.
No. No, I do believe it, but
What do you mean
there's
internally?
like not trusting a certain person. I'll go through like scenarios in my head where I get screwed over. My like those mind traps that I told you about. So sometimes I go through that. So I have moments where I have a sense of distrust, but they disappear quickly and they come up for no reason at all. There's nothing that triggers them. I just get feelings of distrust.
What? Like no actions, no words, nothing triggers you? You just
Sometimes, not,
randomly think
but
about it?
yeah, sometimes I randomly think about it. Like I
Wow.
just get into a mode where it passes quickly.
Oh, for me, it's usually because of a word or an action. I think about negative stuff only if there's words or actions that are like makes me feel weird.
That makes sense.
Should
Anyways, we
shoulds
you can read it.
shoulds refer to the implicit or explicit rules we have about how we and others should behave. When others break our rules, we are upset. When we break our own rules, we feel guilty. For example, we may have an unofficial rule that customer service reps should always be accommodating to the customer. When we interact with a customer service rep that is not immediately accommodating, we might get angry. If we have an implicit rule that we are irresponsible if we spend money on unnecessary things, we may feel exceedingly guilty when we spend even a small amount of money on something we don't need. Shoulds.
I
Should
don't.
be a certain way. Should be.
I don't think I have. I think I had this. Like they say, when we interact with customer service, that is not immediately accommodating. We might get angry. I think I probably had that when I was younger, like that type of feeling. But growing up, I believe I grew out of this whole shoulds thing. You know,
Really? What about road rage? People should be driving a certain way.
that's not be. I don't think that people. You
You
know
get
what?
pissed off. You're like,
I do.
fuck.
Hey, you know what?
People should be good drivers.
Hey, you said you didn't like that. So I've been working on that,
Yeah,
working on
but
my
I'm
anger.
I'm saying just because you're working on it doesn't mean that you don't feel this way. I do think that you feel these should.
Well, yeah, I guess in that perspective I do because I feel like if you're able to pass a driving test, or I mean, I think driving.
See, you do feel
I
that
Hey,
way.
you know what? I
I
think
don't feel that way. I
I
feel like well, one simple test doesn't do shit. People
I
are horrible drivers.
yeah, they are. They are horrible drivers.
What? Just because they pass a test, really? Just because they pass
Well,
a 20-minute test?
I'm saying the test should be super hard,
There's your should.
and 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 it should be only 10% of people can pass.
There's your should.
You know you wouldn't pass, Kim.
There's your should.
You know you're a bad driver. That's why
I'm
you're
an
accepted.
Asian woman.
All right, that's not an excuse.
I didn't say it's an excuse. I'm just saying that you have these shoulds and you have not grown out of it.
All right, well, that in that sense, I am okay. So driving, I think driving is one of my issues that I have problems with because I've been hit by a bunch of people when I was completely stand still. I got sideswiped on a freeway, completely stopped, just because an Asian lady was trying to switch lanes real quick. Yes, just like you. And then, yeah,
I'm
so
not proud of my fearlessness. I didn't say I'm proud of it. I'm just saying you have shoulds.
all right, you're right. Thank you for pointing that out. That is the truth. I do have issues, and I believe people should drive better.
Do you know who you're dating?
I know who I'm dating. That's why I drive more.
Do you know you're dating an Asian woman?
Yeah, that's why whenever, just a note, guys, if you're dating an Asian woman, you drive.
Hey, I'm fine being the chauffeur. I mean, you being my chauffeur. Do I have these? Yeah, I do. I have these shoulds because I feel like I have shoulds for, no, I'm selectively should because I have shoulds for like customer service for sure. Like, if I pay for a service, I expect them to deliver. And if they don't, then I want all my money back. Like at a restaurant, if I order thing a certain way and then they just don't, they just screw up, I don't go, oh, yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna eat this. I'm the type of person who would be like, oh, can I get a replacement? Or like, I think if I pay for something, my mind is in the should mode. Like, I should get that service
That's
for
true.
sure.
That's true.
Emotional, you should read the emotional reasoning one.
No motions. No. This distortion involves thinking that if we feel a certain way, it must be true. For example, if we feel unattractive or uninteresting in the current moment, we must be unattractive or uninteresting. This cognitive distortion boils down to I feel it, therefore it must be true. Clearly, our emotions are not always indicated of the object truth, but it can be difficult to look past how we feel.
Do you pronounce that? Do you ever pronounce that word indicative? You say
No,
indicative? How is that word pronounced? Indicative or indicative?
indicative. Sure.
Oh, okay. Clearly, our emotions are not always emotional reasoning. Emotional
I
reasoning.
I know I have this. Every once in a while, I do feel unattractive or something like that. It's just a random feeling,
I feel it,
and I feel like
therefore it must be true. I feel it, therefore. Hmm. I think when I had more expectations, I feel this way. But when I don't have any expectations or I have very little expectations, I don't feel this way as much.
hmm
Like if I expect things to be a certain way, then when I feel like indignant,
hmm
then I feel like I've been like it that I feel like my feeling is more closer to the truth.
hmm
But if I don't have any expectations and things could go either way, then I feel like if I'm angry or if I'm happy, that I could, I don't know, be having a bad day.
hmm
Who knows? I think it boils down to disappointment. Like if you're really, really disappointed, then
hmm
you feel like it's more true. You feel more justified to be disappointed.
hmm
I can barely hear you.
Yeah, it's because I was drinking. So I moved
Oh,
my mic
okay.
up to drink so I wouldn't, uh, make a lot of noise.
Oh.
All right. Fallacy of change. The fallacy of change lies in expecting other people to change as it suits us. This ties into the feeling that our happiness depends on other people and their willingness or inability to change, even if we push and press and demand it keeps us from being happy. This is clearly damaging way to think, since no one is responsible for our happiness except
Oh,
us.
you're way loud. You're way loud.
Uh, I'm either loud or too quiet.
No, you're like super, super loud right now.
I'm sorry. Let me whisper.
Oh, I like your whispering. It sounds very nice. Like, you know, those AMSR things.
Really?
Yeah.
Or they make sounds.
Or you can
I
just
hear
talk very calmly.
talk very calmly. All right. The fallacy of change. I don't I don't think I have this issue. I don't think I believe in this.
I do. I have this issue.
Yeah.
I feel like since I'm so affected, I feel like you have to change. I don't see myself changing.
You're responsible for your own change.
No,
No.
I'm not saying I'm not responsible for my own change. I just don't see myself changing my mind
Mm,
as easily, you know. I
mm-hmm,
feel like before I change, other people have to change. I don't see myself changing first. Like, I think it's because in the past, I changed so much for other
mm-hmm,
people
mm-hmm,
that I got sick of it. And
mm-hmm,
now that I'm older, I'm kind of like, well, I don't give a fuck. Like, before, I used to change a lot to please people. To my happiness was like more like their happiness.
mm-hmm.
And so they don't need to change at all. They can just be whatever they want to be. Whoops. And then so I do have the fallacy of change for sure.
Yes, you do. I hear about it all the time.
You need to change this, you need to change that.
Yep. Need to change everything. Lucky you're aggressive and I'm passive.
Maybe that's why two alphas really can't like coexist because they'll keep butting heads. One person like you change, the other one like no, you change,
But you know what?
motherfucker,
There has been things.
motherfucker.
I feel like you have changed a bit for me. So I don't feel like the things that you asked me to change are unreasonable. Because,
Well, I'm not unbudging, but that doesn't mean I'm not resentful.
no, I know. But I'm just saying, I've seen you have changed since we met a little bit. And I think you did that stuff for me.
No, I think I'm just part of it. I'm just part of the change. I'm a sponge. I don't think in my mind, I never think I'm going to do this for you, Jonathan. I don't
Mm,
think that way. I don't think I'm going to do this for you. Like what I think is, well, we semi moved in together, and that to me is kind of like doing it for us because if I don't know, I didn't get a place where you're allowed, then basically like unless you move, you're undateable.
yeah, I know. No,
So
you're
it's
right
like
for
for
us.
me, it's like either I move, or you're undateable, and I just
Hmm.
don't date you. And usually, if that's the case with like the people I date, it's usually they have like their own place and they have everything all set. And all I do, I'm the person that goes to their place. So my environment was kind of like, I didn't really need to have my own environment, basically.
Hmm.
So I think I did that for us. But then everything else, I feel like I don't think that way.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think in general, my thinking is I've grown a lot. I've been through a lot, and like I'm not really gonna, I don't know, give up my life. Like, give up myself or make huge sacrifices to be in a relationship because I can be happy on my own, kind of thing.
Hmm.
That's how I feel.
Hmm.
You don't think I feel that way? You think I will sacrifice myself for a relationship?
No, I don't think you'd do that. That's not what I was talking about.
What were you talking about?
Nothing. I was just talking about like closeness things. Like there's been times where you've called me or out of the blue.
Oh
And
yeah, because I feel
and
so pressured to talk to you because of how I felt like you were super needy compared to my past relationships.
mhm,
Because we would, my past, you already know, we would
yeah.
go for days without even talking, and it would be chill.
Mhm,
We would catch up wherever we left off. But for you, you say that you're used to talking every single day, and um, I think that is something that I've wrestled with, but I'm not happy about it. Like, I still I feel way less pressure now because whenever I ask for space now, and I don't even think it's something that I should ask permission about, but when I say, hey, I want my own space, you just say yes. And then that makes me feel so much better. But before, it was kind of like a big fight. So I think I've wrestled with accommodating with you, and it
mhm,
didn't make me happy until you came over to my side and you were kind of like okay, and you didn't make like a big fuss out of whenever I was like, hey, I want my alone time, you know.
mhm,
Even though you weren't like, I'm here and I'm gonna make a big fuss, it was more like, let's talk for hours, you know, let's discuss this. And it wasn't even like that topic, even. It was just like a lot of discussion.
mhm,
I think for you, you felt like when I pull away, it's more like you go into panic mode and you're like, and then in the whole discussion, in the whole talking, it made you pull me back and like made you feel close to me again. And that kind
mhm,
of made me feel like it's like a baby, you know, if the baby cries just so that you could pay attention to it. And then, so it made me feel like I was like, that's why it made me feel so resentful and angry when you did that. But when you're like, okay, when there's no fight, when there's no resistance, and when it's just accepted, that's when I feel like I can breathe. And I think that's you coming over and changing. I'm still the same. I still feel the same about space. I still feel the same about my own time. I just felt like I gave in at first, and then I was like, no, I still feel the same. So I'm going to step back. And I think if you didn't change, I think, I don't know, I think it would be really bad because we would always have arguments whenever I need my time.
mhm,
In general, I still feel the same way I've always felt. I feel like even though you persuade me to go towards more that side, I still internally feel all the same feelings I have, you know.
mhm,
I just am not resentful because you don't cling when I ask for my own space.
mhm.
That's how I feel.
Okay.
Global labeling, mislabeling. Do you want to read that one?
No, you read it.
Okay, this cognitive distortion is an extreme form of generalization in which we generalize one or two instances or qualities into a global judgment. For example, if we fail at a specific task, we may conclude that we're a total failure in not only this area, but all areas. Alternatively, when a stranger says something a bit rude, we may conclude that he or she is an unfriendly person in general. Mislabeling is specific to using exaggerated and emotionally loaded language, such as saying a woman has abandoned her children when she leaves her children with a babysitter to enjoy a night out. So
Mm,
saying one thing and then judging the whole thing.
yeah, I don't do this. I don't judge an entire person by one bad day or mislabel a woman that abandons her children
Mm-hmm.
or a babysitter. No, I don't think like that. I know I don't.
Yeah, me neither. Always being right. While we all enjoy being right, this distortion makes us think we must be right. that being wrong is unacceptable. We may believe that being right is more important than the feelings of others, being able to admit when we made a mistake, or being fair and objective.
I'm not like
So,
this.
always right. Yeah, you're not like that at all.
Nope. I don't think I'm always right. I had a friend that thought he was always right.
Is he still your friend?
Yeah. He's not the same as he was. It was just before, like, even when he was proved wrong, he was still right. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely not like this at all.
I think at the worst of my past relationship, I think I was like this. And I think my ex was like this too. We had to be right. It's
Yeah,
kind of like a game.
then it's no longer about the issue. It's more like who's right and who's wrong.
It's more like who's going to give in.
Mm-hmm.
Heaven's reward fallacy. This distortion involves expecting that any sacrifice or self denial on our part will pay off. We may consider this karma and expect that karma will always immediately reward us for our good deeds. Of course, this results in feelings of bitterness when we do not receive our reward.
Well, I think if you do things and always desire a reward, then it's not really a good deed.
Mm, sacrifice on our part will pay off.
What I feel is like if you're going to do something for someone, you shouldn't require some, or shouldn't feel, that they should give you something back in return. Like if I did something for you, I don't expect you to give me something in return. When I do it because I want to do it for you.
Yeah.
Good, good deeds. Yeah, I don't think you shouldn't expect anything because then that sets you up for, like it said in the article, feeling bitter and feeling like that person doesn't care.
Yeah, I think that happens when, in terms of relationships, someone does so many things for the other person and
Mm-hmm.
they feel like they're so self-sacrificing and they did all these things, but the other person's like, well, you didn't even have to do all that. Like, like you don't have to put yourself through all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I feel like the more you feel like you're martyring yourself for someone else, that's probably when you feel have this heaven's reward fallacy.
Yep. Yep. I feel like I don't have this. I don't think I have it.
Yeah, I think if you do have it, I would be annoyed.
What do you mean?
I would be like, well, you didn't need to do that.
You've already told me that before. You know you don't need to do things that you do. Like, you don't need to help me. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't need to help you. I want to help you. I feel for me, I'm not expecting you to do something for me. I don't know. I just want to do something nice. I feel like it shows that I care.
What if you do all these nice things and I just don't recognize it?
But didn't we watch like a video or something like that where you should sit with someone and tell them like the things you believe you do for a person and tell them what you appreciate them for, no matter how small it is. I think we watched a video. You sent me a video on that. Like every once in a while, you should sit there and with your partner and talk. Remember the 3 questions video that you sent me?
Mm-hmm.
It was like what do you appreciate them
You're
for?
super loud.
Oh, what do you appreciate them for? Um, what was it? The second one was like, what bugs you and something else. Just basically to tell them that you appreciate them, just to remind the other person that you appreciate them.
Oh, by saying what bugs you?
No, no, that was one of the questions to like you do this to me and it doesn't make me feel all right. So the
Mm.
other person realizes that or something like that. There's three questions. You know what video I'm talking about, right?
I
You
have like
remember?
I do remember it, but then when you tell me, "Hey, do you remember?" You're kind of like not giving me specific. You don't remember much yourself,
Well,
so
that's why I'm trying to.
it's hard for me to remember something like.
Well, I know one of the questions is like tell the person the things you appreciate about them. Like, hey, I appreciate that you do this for me all the time or something like that.
Is it more like then they know really important to you and you know
Yeah,
what's really important to them, and it's
yeah.
not like, oh yeah, that's totally relevant to this heavens reward thing because you could be doing a bunch of shit and it
Hmm.
doesn't even matter to the other person.
Yeah. And you can be like, because remember they said like you should tell the person, hey, I do this for you, and I feel like you don't notice it, and the other person could notice it, but they might not think it's a big deal. But it might be a big deal to you.
Oh, we should do that some more.
Yeah, I know. You're the one who sent it to me and said we should do this because they because that video is basically like to spark the love again. Basically, that's what they said. Like to ask these three questions every once in a while is to remind each other like about the small stuff, so you'll feel like you know less bitterness, and you'll feel you know I guess you'll feel the love again.
Mm.
If we find the video, we'll post it in the podcast. Um,
If we find it.
if we find it, you sent it to me. I'm assuming it's in your history. I don't know. It was a long time. I don't remember what it's called, but it was a really good video. It was like three questions you should ask your significant other, and then they just sit across from each other and they just ask those three questions. And I think it was a short video, but I think those things are really important to make each other feel appreciated.
I think it clears the air.
Hmm.
Okay, I remember.
Hmm.
It's not like a video. I think it's a Facebook Live, right? And
No,
then,
it was a video.
oh well. Anyways, what I remember is a Facebook Live, and it's like talking to each other. It's like talking points. You tell each other how
Oh,
you
that.
really feel, and it's kind of like getting rid of stacks. Like in a relationship,
Hmm.
miscommunication will create these stacks of like, oh, but like,
Yeah.
it makes you kind of second guess, like, oh, what did he really mean by that? And then that's a stack on you. And then like, oh, I don't feel that appreciated because of this. And then you don't address it, and that's another stack. And so you
Hmm.
like have all these stacks, and then
I.
when you make that conversation to each other,
Hmm.
it like gets rid of that, and it makes you feel you understand the other person because all it takes is a conversation to say, oh, that's really what you mean. Oh, okay, this is what I mean.
Yeah. I think you're talking about. I think you said there was a video where your friends do like a couple thing. I remember
Mm-hmm.
you doing that. I remember you showing me that on the Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
That was similar,
Mm-hmm.
but you sent me a video beforehand where it was two people sitting in a kitchen and they were across each other from a table, and then they'd just talk to each other. And then it would go back and forth with explaining why you asked these questions.
Oh, maybe it's a school life video.
Mm, I don't think so. It was a long time ago.
What I remember is that it's a School of Life video of it's two people sitting across the street
You might be right.
from each
I
other.
didn't. It was in the beginning, so I didn't really know what School of Life was. You probably had more experience with that in the beginning. Now I know what School of Life is.
Well, I'm just saying that's my memory. I think that's what I remember.
You're probably right.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably is.
If I'm right,
Yeah, I
I'll let
think,
you know.
well, who cares about this whole conversation trying to remember stuff? What I'm saying is I agree with you that that's relevant to this heaven's reward fallacy. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. It just came to my mind, and I thought that to make sure this fallacy never happens, you should practice those techniques.
Oh, hey, there's 9 essential CBD, CBT techniques and tools. Journaling is one, so that you know your moods and your thoughts and you gather them.
Mm-hmm.
So you describe them out and then you find ways to adapt and cope. That's what you were advised to do, right?
Yep.
Journaling?
Journal. Well, not exactly journaling. Well, in a way, yeah. But they just basically wrote, not like write a journal, just write down whatever thought I'm thinking when I'm in that mind trap, and then kind of like solve it like a math problem rather than letting it sit in my head. Write it down on paper, then it's more like a math problem that it is.
Can you speak in a lower tone or put the mic a little bit further away because you're like super loud and it hurts my ears?
Just better.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, but yeah, that's it. I don't remember what I was talking
Unraveling cognitive distortions, unraveling it. In order to unravel, you must first become aware which distortions. Okay, well, I guess that's what we're doing. We're becoming aware. Cognitive reconstruction, once you identify it, you begin to learn about how this distortion took root and why you came to believe it. Instead of accepting this faulty belief that leads you to think unreasonably negative thoughts about yourself, you could take this opportunity to think about what a person makes respectable belief may not have explicitly considered before. Exposure and response prevention. This technique is specifically effective for those who suffer from OCD. Do you have OCD? Introspective exposure. This technique is intended to treat panic and anxiety. It involves exposure to feared bodily sensations in order to elicit their response.
Well, should we go over these or?
I'm tired.
Well, I saw these a while ago and I was planning to do like we could do a second podcast on a later date about we can save this and talk about the actual techniques to we can talk about those and our experiences using them.
Mm. Okay, that makes sense to me.
Let's put it in our red booth. Workspaces. You can probably stop recording.
Mm.
We can stop recording. We can stop recording.
You're a bear.
You're a cutie.
Okay, I'm gonna start recording. Well, in the end, I was just clicking around, so this is I ended it.
Yeah.
So this is the end of the Just Getting Through Life podcast. Thank you for listening to us all the way till the end.
Yeah, we might continue this next week on the actual ways to cope with these. What's it called? Ways to cope with these distortions.
All right, this is Kim and
Jonathan.
And thank you for listening to us babble on.
All right. You have a good night, everyone.
Or good morning. Bye.
Bye.